Good morning, everyone. You're listening to Life Study Library. This is your host, Lai Yosh. In the channel, you'll be able to learn about these interesting and educational life-changing science and psychology that can greatly change your life for the better. You can watch my other videos, like how to scientifically persevere and build a mind that doesn't give up, or other random topics like how to scientifically name your pets for the well-being of you and along with your loving companion. So if that interests you, and tingles your intellectual curiosity, then please make sure to subscribe to Life Study Library and like this video as it might unexpectedly give something positive to you. Thank you for subscribing to my channel and liking this video. And now let's get going. So the video includes, like always, a legitimate scientific analysis, but do consider that this particular video will have some personal opinions. In this video, we'll be talking about what you, a regular human being, might be unintentionally doing in the morning that can ruin the rest of your day. I know I talked about this exact topic in a previous video, but I've only talked about this one thing considering stuff you shouldn't do right after you get up in the morning. So this video will be the part 2 of stuff you shouldn't do in the morning, but a surprising amount of people unintentionally do that can ruin their entire remainder of their day. By stopping these multiple activities, you might be able to experience an improved quality for the entire day, along with an improved quality of sleep. By applying these methods in my life, I was able to see great improvements in my life, and there is a good chunk of scientific legitimacy to these factors, so try it out for yourself and experiment with yourself and see if it changes anything about your life. These 3 factors will be in a ranking form, so the amount of potential positive results you can gain will increase as we go further down the video. Let's start with number 1. You need to stop relying on alarm clocks to wake up. I know, a bold statement, but it is scientifically proven by numerous studies that if you stop relying on alarm clocks to wake up in the morning, you'll be able to gain a lot of benefits that last for the entire day. So much so that one can consider its effects life-changing. I too have tried this, and yes, it does require some time to adjust. At least for me, it wasn't like the smoothest switch of habits. So maybe some of you might want to start doing this on a Friday night when you have all weekend to test out the water. But places like the University of Newcastle have provided evidence that the human body, prior to 15 minutes or so in between waking up, produces something called cortisol inside the body. This cortisol pretty much is the hormone that wakes you up and gets your body ready for the day. So it helps you by warming up your body or getting you energized, stuff like that. And it usually takes about 15 minutes for the body to do so. And when this process malfunctions or doesn't work properly, you end up feeling groggy and sleepy the entire day. The typical example being you didn't wake up correctly. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you have experienced these very bad mornings when you were nice and cozy in your bed sleeping like a baby, and then all of a sudden the alarm clock bangs, destroying your eardrums, and you woke up horrible, feeling so desperately to go back to sleep, but you realize that you have work to do. All this happened because your cortisol level wasn't ready to activate and wake your body up, and the alarm went off at the wrongest of times possible when your body still needed some time to start waking up. And the worst part about this is that no matter how much or how well you slept through the night, if you fail to wake up correctly, you will feel sleepy the entire day. And of course, feeling sleepy when you shouldn't be will cause all sorts of negativities in your day. So this is a huge issue, right? If you're someone who, despite sleeping for a sufficient amount of time, always experience grogginess and have very bad mornings. And one thing to note before we move on is that this might not apply if you're still a teenager. Then your hormonal development might have something to do. But if you're an adult and this is happening, then you have a pretty good shot that this is the reason for your grogginess. And before I forget to mention, I have to say how pressing snooze is also not a good method, and you might be able to guess why. It's because you can't simply add on sleeping time as if to say every minute of your sleeping time amounts to equal quality of sleep. Like I said before, there's a certain timing during your sleep cycle for you to wake up optimally, and you merely adding on your sleeping time doesn't necessarily match well with the optimal timing you should be waking up. I feel like people understand this, but yeah. So what can you do about it? It is suggested that instead of sound, you should use light to wake yourself up. You can achieve this by having your curtains or blinds open enough to let sunlight come in the morning. Or if you have money to spare, you could get one of those automatic blind openers that opens the blind or the curtain at a set time. If you don't have money, then I guess you just have to physically open the blind, or you can go outside for a bit and get some sunlight. If you feel like that's not going to be an option, there's also an alarm clock that specifically uses light to wake yourself up. And I've tested some of them, and yeah, many of them will shine pretty brightly, so I'd say its effects are pretty good. I have some of the recommended ones in the description, so you should definitely go check it out. But the point is that you should stop waking up to sounds and start waking up to light. And another thing is that you can also use an Apple Watch if you have one to wake yourself up by vibrating. I personally never tried this before, but I feel like that's a good option too. So that was number one. You should stop using alarm clocks to wake yourself up in the morning. Alright, moving on. Next up, the second thing you need to stop is watching news in the morning. This one is a study done at the University of North Carolina, and it claims that by not watching news in the morning, your overall efficiency improves. I'm pretty sure a lot of people start off the morning with watching the news, coffee cups in their hand. The importance of being aware of what's going on in the world has been advocated by so many people that you might actually think you're being productive by watching the news right after you wake up. However, science says that this is not the case. The study was performed by the researchers making the samples watch a specific type of news about a topic, for example, politics or the economy. Then, the sample's daily behavior was observed, and the results showed that by making them watch a news video about a particular topic, they were primed to spot things that were related to the topic they watched in the news. If you watch a news video talking about politics, you tend to spot stuff that resembled the topic of politics more often than if you didn't watch the news. And right here, if you noticed anything, you might be ahead of the game. Let me explain. So what the study found was that if you watched news about something controversial, for example, a company's financial fraud, then you'll tend to look at the environment of your workplace in a more distrustful lens, unconsciously suspecting that the higher-ups at your company are also committing unethical behavior. The news could be something like the president of a company who's being sued for sexual harassment. Then you'll tend to go to your own workplace, your own company you work at, and unconsciously look for clues that your boss might be committing the same crime, not just towards yourself, but towards other people as well. So the mechanism of this whole thing is that people tend to be influenced by things they expose themselves to in the morning, and that influence will last for the remainder of the day, and they unconsciously look for a similar occurrence that happens in their own life. This is also a big problem, but is also easily solvable like the last one. You can solve this by shutting off excessive information right after you wake up. Or more specifically, you'll make it so beforehand that you'll experience something that'll start you off in the right turf. What I do personally is that because I love listening to this rock band called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and I just can never not enjoy them when I listen. So right after I wake up, I hype myself up and make myself happy by listening to one song at random from them, and I do nothing else. By only focusing on this one activity, I shut off excessive info that might ruin my morning, and simultaneously make myself feel positive and be ready for the day. As for you, it doesn't have to be listening to music. It could be anything. If you like reading, you should read your favorite book first thing in the morning. Seriously, anything will suffice. But back to the main thing about this topic. So when it comes specifically with news, the reason why it's a terrible activity to do in the morning that can ruin your day is because a lot of news are manipulated so that they broadcast something negative, and people naturally pay more attention towards bad news and negative news more than good ones. This is because back when we were monkeys, or when we were just starting to civilize, we were super vulnerable towards threats because we didn't have any means of defense like modern technology. So if we saw a rustling bush, those who assumed negatively, for example, those who assumed a predator that's hiding, those who assumed this and paid attention to negative stuff were likely to survive. So this tendency to pay attention to potentially negative things became a part of our core behavior. That's how the news controls our attention, and as a result, they get views or whatever. And because how you start your day off will most likely be how you spend the entire day, this negative emotion will ruin your day. but I am aware that knowing about the world is important. So my advice to you is to not watch or listen to the news at the very least during the morning. I strongly recommend this, so you should try it out. Alright, the third thing you should not do in the morning is to look at social media. This might be pretty obvious to many of you, as it is claimed by so many people out there that social media is full of fake and unhealthy standards of comparison, stuff that you're so much better off not viewing. But this is sort of similar to watching morning news, right? So how is social media any different? Well, according to the research, social media is the number one thing you should absolutely avoid in the morning for a reason not very related to watching TV. More precisely, this one is especially for people who are forced to experience stress during the daytime, like if you have to go to school or to work, where you are likely to experience some kind of stress. And after experiencing all the stress during the daytime, you'll feel so tired and worn out when you go to sleep at night. By shutting off social media exposure, you are able to avoid so much needless stress and other negativity that you've been unintentionally experiencing. So, with social media, like I said, it's pretty obvious that you can fake pretty much everything that you post in it, right? You can fake your selfies by adding filters, you can lie about where you went just by posting pics you found on Google search or something like that, or on the caption you can fake what you write about. And this leads to not only deceiving others, but also deceiving yourself. You are essentially creating a fake persona by posting about yourself that is not true. And by looking at social media, you are constantly reminded of that action. Also, I'm assuming, but your social media friends are probably those who you hang out with in the real world, right? And if, let's say, you lied about how you are actually descendants of a famous person or something, you might have to forever lie to them about what you faked in that social media, always having to make sure to not slip up until the day you and your friends die. The part about you having to continue lying to your friends is only one thing, but what I want to talk about is specifically the lies you tell to yourself. In psychology, this is what is known as cognitive dissonance, where you know two or more contradictory info and you feel stressed about it. In this case, knowing something that others do not. I don't know why, but my explanation just now seemed so long. But yes, this is pretty much what social media is all about. So, looking at social media, or I guess a more accurate way to put it is that frequently posting stuff on social media will most likely ruin your mental state. I guess it's a little tolerable if you are strictly only a viewer of other people's posts. But once you start to regularly post stuff on it, these stuff that I just explained might happen to you. So, you should avoid posting stuff about yourself on social media like the plague. Now, why is doing all this specifically in the morning especially bad? Well, easy. It's similar to viewing TV right after you get up. You having the knowledge that there are so much fake on social media is already stressful. So having to expose yourself to this source of negativity in the morning will stress you out throughout the entire day. Pretty much like when you watch TV in the morning. So my recommendation to you is to at least disable yourself from TV and social media right after you wake up. And if circumstances allow, wait until at least midday to start watching them. So probably the easiest way you can solve for all three of these things is to not touch your phone during the mornings, since almost every single person nowadays has their own phone which can substitute as a TV if you don't have this at home. You can change the settings pretty easily on it. For example, what I do is before I go to sleep, I put my phone at the opposite corner of the room and disable it for an hour after I wake up. I have my alarm set on my Apple Watch as a vibration, while also having my blinds slightly open, just enough to invite only the sunlight and nothing else. Also on my phone, I just have all the unnecessary social media apps deleted, and the social media apps that I actually need, I hide the app itself and the notifications so that I don't get reminded of their existence before the first hour of my day has passed. And during this first hour, I fully open the blinds, stretch while hyping myself up by listening to one song by Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas on Spotify. By the way, you should definitely check it out. And Spotify is one of the few apps that I've enabled during this time. And I listen to it while stretching, and then drink a sip of water, and then head to the gym to do my usual HIIT. That is basically the first hour of my day. Of course, the rest of the day is kind of a mystery, and so many unexpected things can totally happen. But at the very least, my action for the first hour of my day is fully set in stone. Of course, the remainder of my day will change depending depending on my schedule. And during nighttime, I might have to stay up for a while, but I make it so that no matter what state of my body is in or how I'm doing whatsoever, I make it so that my first hour of my day will start the same way. And yes, you will have to constantly adjust to changes in schedule. For example, if I went to bed late, I would have to recover on my sleep sometime during the next day. And saving some time for naps is one strategy, but honestly, you can never expect a full recovery from it, as naps are important in this one specific sense, but just not for replacing actual sleep deprivation. By the way, if you want to know what this one sense is, you should go check out another video of mine that is called Wear This to Become Smarter: The Surprising Scientific Benefits of Eye Masks. This is one of the recommended videos that you'll be able to find in the description. But yeah, back to my morning schedule. There hasn't been a whole lot of time that passed since I started this morning routine, but so far, I'm able to see drastic improvements in my life and my overall productivity when compared to before. And one more important thing that you should know is that you shouldn't try attempting all these all at once. I promise you, you will not make it if you try to do this. Just test out the water and become a master at it, one aspect of your life at a time. Remember, this is where you have to become a scientist or have a scientific mindset, so you need to make this process into a scientific experiment. What I mean is that if you try to solve for all these categories of problems all at once, and even if you succeed in it, you won't get a good grip on figuring out what was the main issue of your success. Why did the issue with social media work, but not with the part about the morning news? Why is that? Would the result be different if you changed something about it? How can you even make it so that you can solve for all of these three issues all at once and turn out successful? You've probably learned about independent variables and dependent variables in your science class, but the simple answer is to make your improvement process as simple as possible so that you'll be able to clearly see what you did well and what you did wrong. And with that, I'll end the video, but I'm planning to make the next video about how you can manage specifically your social media. So please be on the lookout for that video. Now, I don't think I've talked about my book recommendation for the day, so I'll do that. Today's book that you should read after this video is Singletasking: Get More Done One Thing at a Time by Devora. I know I've talked about this book in some of my previous videos about how we often think we can effectively multitask and get quality results, but in actuality, this is a big fat false, and all we're really doing is simply switching our attention from one task to another at super speed. When you're driving while texting, you're not really doing multiple tasks at once, at least not effectively. If you've ever had a phone call while driving and the person on the call gave you like a list of things for you to remember and buy, right? Well, guess what? You're not going to remember a good half of it, if not any of it. And of course, people can argue back to a wall, but today I'll dive further into another topic. We're not able to multitask successfully with complex tasks, but we are able to inconceivably focus on one task at a time. Were you ever focused on this one task so much so that you lost track of time, or you turned back at one point and was stunned by the progress you made? This is the essence of singletasking, and in the scientific field, we say that you were in the state of flow. The state of flow is essentially a state of hyper-focus, the exact name of what happens when you lose track of time because you were so focused on your task. And after you worked on this one task, you feel super accomplished and satisfied. And you really did accomplish a lot. And you feel that as if you moved mountains. And also in a shorter time than if you were to multitask. If you want to know more about this and how it is scientifically true, and how you can train this skill to see far outstanding improvements in every aspect of life, then you should definitely read Singletasking: Get More Done One Thing at a Time by Devora. This was a really eye-opening book for me, so you should check it out too if you haven't already. And also, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to Life Study Library if you like this video and want to learn more about these interesting and potentially life-changing science and psychology. Thank you for watching until the end. This was your host, Lai Yosh, and I'll see you in another video. Bye!